Everyone, and welcome to the Morning Huddle. I'm your host, Devin Roy, and joining me today is Joyous Leader, Joan Ligonde. I said it right, didn't I?
You said perfectly.
And she's here to talk about 40-day Joyous Challenge. And before we get into that, Joanne, just let's reintroduce you to the audience. Tell everyone a little bit about yourself, and then we'll talk about the journal.
Oh, awesome. Well, hello, everybody. My name is Johane Ligonde. I am Joyous Leader on Instagram. I am, by day, I'm a principal. I love what I do. I love my students. I love my staff. It's just so amazing to be a leader during these very challenging times. However, in my off time, I love helping high-powered leaders who are really incredibly successful in what they do. However, there's something, they feel that something is missing in their lives. Maybe some joy, maybe some level of positivity. And so because of that, I was one of you. I was one of those leaders myself where I felt something was missing. And what I didn't realize was missing was self-care. That level of just moments of silence, moments of peace, just for me to be able to not only nourish myself, but nourish others as well. So I'm just so happy to be here with you today and to talk about my latest project.
So let's get into it. So what is the 40-day Joyous Challenge? What is it about?
Okay, so the 40-day Joyous Challenge was a complete surprise. I know you may say, well, how could a book be a complete surprise? Because that is not the book that I was writing, Devin. It was not.
Okay.
I'm actually still writing the book that I was originally writing called Joyous Edge Method. However, one of my clients came to me. She called. I went on a silent retreat, and I wasn't taking any more one-on-one coaching clients. And she called and she said, I need your help. And at first I was like, I'm not taking any one-on-one coaching clients. Here's this number to call. Here's that person to reach out to. She goes, no, I need you to support me. Mm-hmm. And so I'm a teacher by trade. So the first thing I started doing, I said, okay, if we're going to work together, you are going to have to do some homework. She said, I'll do whatever you say. And I said, yes, that's the kind of client I want to work with. You'll do whatever I say. That's perfect. And so what I started doing was I was emailing her and texting her on a daily basis, very specific assignments she needed to do to expand herself and really to ignite her joy. See, many of us, what we do is we look for joy outside of ourselves. And the importance of the 40-day Joyous Challenge is to engage in different activities to ignite the joy that is already within. So we have so many layers of things that are pretty darkening the joy that we have already. So it
already exists within us. We don't have to find it. We just have to unearth it.
Right. It's just a matter of really unearthing it. It's there. And you can tell because, think about watching a funny show or a funny movie. You could be in a really, really bad state and all of a sudden you start just bursting out in laughter, right? Or you see your children, it just comes out naturally. So joy is not something that is manufactured or that is created. And I know a lot of people are, out there saying, it's almost like we're selling joy, especially with commercialism. However, it's not. It's really something that could be found within. However, it's a practice. It's a habit. We actually have to choose joy. So that's where the project came from. So anybody who enjoys doing homework, right? Fun homework. It is a journal. It's a guided journal. So there'll be lines in it once it's printed, but I really wanted to get the ebook out. It was published in 40 days. It took me 40 days to publish it. And I've been very public about my age. So I'm going to be 40 years old in March. So that was kind of like, well, let's do this before 40. So that came out and hopefully the next book will come out as well. So if you haven't.
Well, you look great for 40. Let me just say that.
Well, thank you. Yay. And that has a lot to do with the practices that are discussed in the Joyous Challenge.
Got it. So why 40 days? I mean, 40 days has a spiritual meaning. I don't know if there's a connection there, but.
Ooh, you picked up on that, huh, Devin?
I did.
Anything past you? Absolutely. So 40 days has a spiritual meaning. So, 40 days, 40 years to really come out of, to be renewed. Mm-hmm, right. Mm-hmm. So that's so incredibly important. And that's important to me. And as I'm heading into my 40th year of life, I really wanted to gift the world with something. So as a matter of fact, those of you who downloaded the book on the first day, it was absolutely free, literally free to the world. Anybody could download it for free because I felt like this is my gift to the world. And because this is still a gift to the world, it is only $2.99 on ebook right now. And a portion of that actually goes to Sky Schools International. Sky Schools International is an organization that teaches students, young people, self-care practices such as breathing techniques. And so I just so believe in their work. They work in my building. And I said, you know what, let's do this. And whatever proceeds come in, a portion of that will go to them. So 40 days is really meaningful. Do you know it takes actually 66 days for us to really embed a habit in our system? I know it's been published that it's 21 days. It's really 66 days. So I thought, you know, if I brought you close to the 66 with the 40 days, you would absolutely continue the challenge on. Hi, Nicole. Nicole is actually, thank you so much for joining us. Nicole is actually the client who writes the foreword in my book.
Really?
Yes.
Hi, Nicole.
Yeah.
Got it. So you talk about the physiological effects that stress can have on the body in your journal. So talk about that.
Yeah, people don't realize that when you're enduring chronic stress, it actually rewires your nervous system, right? And it has physiological impacts. So you're actually living in your sympathetic nervous system. And if you're living from that sympathetic nervous system, which is your autonomic nervous system, right? You're living in a fight or flight system consistently. So your heart rate may be higher. You're actually suffering without even realizing you're suffering because that's your mode of operation. That's actually your mode of operation. So one of the things that we have to do is really engage our parasympathetic nervous system. So we have two parts of the nervous system, the sympathetic, which is our fight or flight. So the brain doesn't recognize if a lion is chasing you or your boss is yelling at you. It just doesn't. So you're always in that state of, I've got to move, fight or flight, right? You get angry easily. It impacts your physiology. It impacts your body. If it impacts your heart rate, what do you think is going to happen to your heart? Many people are dying of broken hearts, and we say it's a heart attack and different things that happen in our system. So the dis-ease actually turns into disease. Now, by using the breath and different tools in our system, we're actually able to engage our parasympathetic nervous system, which is our rest and digest system. And the breath has been proven to be one of those things, one of the most important tools that we can use to engage that system. And one of the longest nerves in our bodies is called the vagus nerve. So once we engage in a certain breathing technique, we engage the vagus nerve, it really puts us in a rest state, in a calmer state, which gives us clarity of mind. And with clarity of mind, we're able to make better decisions. And not only does it impact our mind, it also impacts our physiology. What does that mean? That means that your body is more at a rest state. You're able to have better sleep. You are able to, you're not really succumbing. Your immune system is boosted up. So you're not actually suffering from a common cold all of the time, or you get sick and you get really, really, really sick. So it's really important for us to really engage in these self-care practices. And in the book, we talk about breathing as the primary self-care practice. We talk about gratitude. So I actually have sacred sevens, that's what I call it, the sacred seven practices that you do on a daily basis to live from that rest and digest state and not just from the fight or flight state.
Got it.
Yeah.
You wanted to take us through a practice, a 5-minute. I'm not sure what it is exactly. So
yeah, so it's just a 5-minute teaching. Yeah, thank you so much for bringing that up. Just wanted to,
of course,
would like for you to all maybe take some notes, go over the core practices from the book. Majestic Beauty Essentials, you said you've definitely been there, right? We have it. And it's so great that you're aware of it, that you've been there so that we can do better. You know, when I was going through it, I wasn't aware of it until I realized that, wait a minute, my body's not supposed to react that way. And then it was reacting in that way. I was having headaches and dealing with extreme fatigue. So those of you who are out there and are feeling these symptoms, these are signs that we need to slow down. So I would encourage you to do that. So there are 7 practices that we engage in on a daily basis, that I engage in on a daily basis to ensure that my joy is ignited. Oh, beautiful. You're ready with your pen and paper. Fabulous. So number 1 is gratitude. It's important to have a gratitude practice. Literally, the moment I open my eyes, I start saying thank you. Thank you for this. Thank you for, thank you for my family. Thank you for the bed I am sleeping on. I joke around in the book, and I joke around with, whenever I'm presenting, sometimes I just say thank you for my toes, because without my toes, I wouldn't be able to stand up. Thank you for my feet. Sometimes things look so gloomy, right? We have to look at the concrete things that we take for granted, our fingers, our toes. So really start making a gratitude list. I've taught my children a prayer. Once they wake up in the morning, they say, thank you, God, for waking me up this morning. And then they start saying their affirmations. I am strong. I am wonderful. I'm beautiful. I am authentic. I mean, they have a list of different things. I'm responsible, and so on and so forth. So I encourage you to, number one, have a gratitude list, okay? And number two, it's so important for you to move your body. Move your body. Now, if you're like me, you don't like exercising. I had to hire a coach because I'm like, no, I literally cringe. I don't know why. Don't tell me about my blocks. I mean, it just is what it is, but I do it, right? I became a yoga teacher just for that fact too, just so that I can get the practice of it. It's important for you to dance. If it's core exercises, move your body. Energy begets energy. As you get the body moving with intention and consciously, it also changes your physiology. Okay. And the third thing, those are the 3 cores in the morning. The third thing is really to find a quiet space, to have some silent moments, breathe and meditate. Take some deep breaths. Literally, it can be just really intentional, conscious breathing. Many of us breathe from our throats or breathe right here from our chest, and we realize that our chest is really tight, right? Let's see if we can breathe from our diaphragm, and just deep breaths, practicing that. And there are different breaths that you can practice. In the book, I talk about the straw breath. So that's number 3. Number 4, connect with others. Send a text, send someone a text saying, hey, I'm thinking of you. Call someone, hear their voice, especially during COVID. Connection helps us with isolation, because right now, look at us, it's wonderful that we're able to connect via IG Live, we're able to connect via the phone, but some people are actually living by themselves and they're suffering by themselves. Right? It's important to be thought of. How do you feel when someone just texts you or calls you out of the blue, right? To say, hey, I was thinking about you. How are you? Or someone slides into your DM, and say, hey, you're doing great things. Keep going. That encouragement is just so important. And so it's important to reach out to people and connect with others. And next one, laugh out loud. Listen, that's why I love being on this show, Devin, because you're smiling, you're laughing, your audience is out there and your audience is like, yeah, way to go. So encouraging. Laugh out loud. Don't take yourself too seriously. I mean, things, I had a Monday today, let me tell you. It was like from the moment I woke up, it was that happening. I have kids that, that have to get ready for school, and I had to take some deep breath to say, okay, it's a Monday for them too. All will be well. And we just started laughing. Laugh out loud, even if it's fake. Because there is a positive physiological effect just by laughing and smiling, even if it's fake, right? Not only does it reduce calories, it actually sends positive hormones to your system. Laughter is absolutely amazing, right? So now the next 2 are really, really, really important. You laugh out loud, you keep that energy up. The next thing you do is feed yourself. What does that mean? Feed your soul. What do you love to do? Do you love reading? Do you love dancing? What do you love to do? Identify what you love to do and do it. Feed yourself. Read some inspiring quotes. Go into nature. Feed yourself with amazing foods, green color foods and all of the multicolored foods that you can feed yourself. Really feed your soul, feed your body, feed your mind, feed your spirit, and feed yourself emotionally. And the last one is service. Service is a core to what I do. It is a bridge to joy. So for me, there are 2 bridges to joy. We start with gratitude. We give thanks. We look into what we already have in our lives. So we are really, really, really incredibly thankful for everything. And then we end with giving. So you see how it's just kind of like a really big circle, right? We're thankful for what we have, and then we give. So, but you can't give from an empty cup. Many of us are doing that right now. We're giving, we're overextending. You know, one of my teachers said, if you give something to someone, whether it be your time, your treasure, your talent, whatever it is that you've given to someone, if after you've given it, you feel as if you're missing it, then you shouldn't have given at that moment. Then you didn't have it to give. You know, that's such an important lesson for us to train ourselves to say, okay, where am I? Have I fed myself first to be able to give to others? But it's just so incredibly important for us to be of service to others. So that is my 5-minute teaching on the Sacred 7. So practice it and tell me, you know, follow me at Joyous Leader, DM me. I want to know, how's that working for you? How's that working for you? What do you think,
That's
Devin?
great. That's great. Amazing. Life altering. Because, and tell me about, though, I've heard people talk about the affirmations and positive affirmations, and why is that important to say it? Some people think it's corny to sit there and say these things to yourself. It almost sounds inauthentic, I guess, in some ways.
Yeah.
But why is that important?
You know, I have to say that it's a reminder to yourself. I often talk about our greatest sin, and you know, sin is not as what we understand it to be. It's kind of like a misdirection. It's just you're off the road. I think our greatest mistake in some way is that we forget who we are. So an affirmation is really, it's not a forceful affirmation like, oh my God, I'm going to do this. You know, it's not an incantation. There is a difference between an affirmation and an incantation. It's really a gentle reminder of, this is who I am. This is who I am. You know, it's almost like asking yourself the question, you know, who am I? You know, I am not this body. I am not this mind. I am not these thoughts that are plaguing my mind. I am not, you know, I am not these emotions that I'm crying over all of the time. I am beyond that. I am something so much greater than that. So the affirmations help to root us into who we really, really are. Because we're already all those things.
Yeah. Does that crowd out the negative thinking when you start to say those positive affirmations?
So the negative thinking, I'll tell you right now that they're going to be there. Okay. So let's just say, okay, here you are, you're here. It's really about where we place our attention. Some people expect that the negative thinking will not be there, but the more I focus on the positive, the more the positive will present itself. That does not mean that the negative doesn't exist, because the reality is, if the negative didn't exist, I wouldn't know what positivity is.
Got it.
Right? Can you really appreciate light without darkness?
Of course not.
Right? So it's the same thing with joy. Can we appreciate joy without pain? In our lives, we're going to go through pain. Now, suffering is a choice, but pain is inevitable. Right? I've spoken to people who are cancer survivors who are going through even at during their last breath, you know, and yet there's a joy in them because they know that there's something much greater, you know, greater available to them. So it's not about running away from thoughts. It's about choosing the thoughts that build us up.
Got it.
Yeah.
Wow. So suffering is a choice.
Yeah, suffering is a choice, but pain is inevitable. You're gonna have a headache, and things are gonna happen in your life, right? As they happen in mine, you know, as I shared, you know, this morning, and then I had to remind myself. I think that's it. Is bring ourselves back to awareness. So awareness is not someplace that we live. Now, great masters, you know, like one of my teachers. I mean, he is at that level where he lives there, right? He lives at the highest level of awareness, and he is just beautiful all of the time. But for me, I'm still at that point where I go down and I have to come back up. Life is not a straight line. Life is like this. There are hills, you know, there are peaks and valleys. And so we have to appreciate the valleys as much as we appreciate the peaks, because when we appreciate the valleys, we have a greater appreciation for the peaks. So many people try to do away with the negative. Don't focus on the negative. Focus on the positive. Focus on what you want. Don't focus on the things that you don't want.
Got it.
Yeah.
Love it. All right, everyone, I'm on live with Joanne Ligonde, Joyous Leader. So if you have any questions, please put them either in the comment section or click the check question mark and ask your question. So what other advice do you have for us, particularly, you know, we're going through a whole lot in 2020. How should we look back at 2020? is the question I've been asking myself and many, because many people just want to forget that it happened. They want to move on to 2021. How are you going to look back at 2020, let's say next year?
2020 has tested our resolve. It really has tested our strength, not only individually, but also as a community of beloveds, of people who are saying, no, we're going to pull together and do it. So we're going to remember 2020. How we choose to remember 2020 is all up to us, based on what we decided to do with 2020. When I was home, I wrote this book. Now, you may not have written a book. You may not have, but what did you do? Did you connect better with your family? What did you do that was positive? Again, it's a choice. There is no one who's completely, now this is my belief, I'm going to share that, right? No one is completely bad and horrible. That's it. No, there's some level of positivity. So as we think about 2020, I think we need to go back to number one, which is gratitude. Ask yourself, what can I be grateful for in 2020? What is the insight that I gained in 2020? Because the reality is, when we think about spiritually, and even if you think about it physically, 2020 is the year of seeing, right? What do we say? 2020 is it. What's the ideal vision? What's really 2030, but still 2020, right? 2020 vision, that's it. You're fine. You don't need glasses. You're okay. So when we think about it that way, it opens ourselves to, even at the end of 2020, because we still have 2020 left to go, right? We still have some days left to go. We can turn it around to say, what can I be grateful for in this moment? Now, I know people who have lost people. I have people who have suffered through COVID and who are still suffering through COVID. So what people don't realize is even survivors of COVID are still in pain. Mm-hmm. They're called long haulers. Right. And so they're still living in so much pain. And will that pain go away? And we're always praying that one day it will go away. So there are people who really suffered, who really experienced some level of pain. But how can we then find just a little opening to gratitude, a little opening to an insight, a little opening to hope? But it's all a choice. It's all a choice. I think I shared in one of my stories, in one of my posts, that one of my good friends, his parents were married for 66 years, Devin, 66 years. And they had to say goodbye to each other via FaceTime. And when I spoke to my friend, I said, but in 66 years, can you imagine the love they shared? Imagine that love. Imagine that fidelity, the loyalty, the commitment that two people shared in 66 years that could not be captured via FaceTime. So there are moments like that say, wow. And I was so thankful that I was able to be part of that story just by hearing it. Just by hearing to say that. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think there's, everything happens for a reason, and that's, mm-hmm. We always say that. But there's some lessons to be learned from 2020. And I think we've all got to figure out what that lesson is for us as individuals, and what we take away from it. It's going to be, I think, unique to the individual. So that's my take on it. I think, this has happened for a reason. It's allow us to slow down and reflect, to reflect on what's most important, and that's family, because we're losing loved ones left and right? 280,000 Americans have lost their lives so far. So we all know someone who's lost someone to COVID at this point. So it's about us reflecting on what's important, because we took those things for granted, I think, for too long. And so, I'm a religious person. I believe in God and those things. And I think, so this is sort of a message to us to say, let's pause, let's stop, let's reflect on things. And because all the things you were thinking about prior to 2020 just weren't that important.
Right.
So I think that's what I'm taking into 2021. What are your thoughts on that?
That's beautiful, because, as you were speaking, I was thinking the Great Awakening, right? How many of us were asleep during 2020? We're so busy going to work that we didn't even realize who was sleeping next to us, literally, right? Or our children, and spending that time, the friends that the friendships we've been able to develop. I know that I've gotten closer to friends, and really focusing on what's important. I think you're onto something, believing that there's a reason to everything. You know, there's a reason for everything under the sun, and there's a season for everything under the sun. So really remembering that, but it's asking ourselves those questions. Question of, what is the insight? What is the insight? You know, as you said, Devin, what is the lesson?
Yeah.
And you know, what is the awareness? What did 2020 mean to me? Because sometimes when we ask ourselves questions, the brain automatically searches for an answer. That's what it does. So invite yourself to just reflect, take that moment. Absolutely. And that's what you're doing with your show, right? Taking that
Absolutely.
moment to engage with people, to say, hey, engage in this conversation with us. Let's talk about these important topics and put your heart on the line. You know, what do you think about this? And I go back and I think about it and I say, you know, wow, yeah, that was really, really, really thoughtful.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
All right. Any questions for Joanne, guys?
Any questions? Welcome, Meditating Mommy. We have Dara here. I'm just going down.
I love that everyone has gotten into meditation. I think that's one takeaway from 2020 is that more people are talking about self-care and meditation and those sorts of things. You know, it was sort of taboo, particularly in the Black community, and it's something that we're now talking about. So there's some positives that I think we can take away from all this, you know, chaos around us.
Yeah, in every negativity, there's a positive. You know, when we think about polar opposites, you know, they exist for a reason. So when I think about my grandmother, you know, my grandmother passed away the day before my birthday. My grandmother raised me. I was born in Haiti and I lived with her. I mean, I slept in my grandmother's bed for until I came to this country at 9 years old. It was just like, she was my rock, and she's still my rock, and she transitioned. But I have to tell you that in the midst of my tears, all I could thank God for was, thank you for not leaving on my birthday. Because you knew that I could not have endured that level of pain. And I have to tell you, of all of the people that I've lost in my life, that my grandmother, like, tears well up in my eyes just thinking about her, because she taught me love, you know, she taught me endless love. So if I could find positivity in the moment, because it was before it was literally like the day before my birthday. I'm born on March 29th. She passed away on March 28th. And the first thing was, Grandma, you gave me a gift. So sometimes the pain turns into a gift.
Right.
You know, it's all about our perspective and what we decide to focus on.
March 29th. I knew I liked you for a reason. March 27th.
Oh, look at that. So we definitely have to celebrate. That's fabulous. A fellow Aries. So, you know, we're doers. We get it done.
Absolutely. We've got a couple questions for you. Let's see here.
Yeah. So
go ahead.
Lori asked, how do essential oils work? So essential oils are gifts from nature. Thank you so much for that question. Essential oils, actually, there's no blood-brain barrier when you use an essential oil. You take an essential oil, put it on your hands, you smell it, so it goes directly to your olfactory bulb that goes into your brain. So it is also another way to activate that parasympathetic nervous system. So how many of you use like lavender oils or peppermint oil? Each scent actually activates a different part of your brain, because it awakens you. So if you have peppermint, I feel more alert, I'm awake, right? The lavender oil, it soothes you. So it's another natural way for us to engage different parts of our system and also to calm ourselves. So essential oils, you know, when I was dealing with postpartum after I had my son, I had no idea. I mean, intellectually, I understood what postpartum was, but you know what? It was like, I am an intellectual. This was not happening to me. You know, I was going to work every day, but didn't understand why I couldn't get out of bed. So, and essential oils really helped me. And the other thing too is you can also use essential oils on your body. Your skin is your largest organ, and you know that it penetrates. So really, and they're natural. So what I would say is please, please, please be mindful of the essential oils you put in your system, whether you are ingesting it, whether you are smelling the essential oils, or you are actually putting them on your body. They have to be natural. I use doTERRA oils because I know they have scientists backing them. I know other people use different oils. So just be mindful of those oils. If you're interested, go to joyousleader.com /essential oils, and there'll be videos there for you. I think there were a couple of other questions here.
The book is out now, right?
The ebook is out now. The paperback is going to be out on December 14th. Now, I don't know about you, but I love books. So I'm actually where I'm sitting right now, I'm surrounded by books. So like I just grabbed one off my shelf. There's nothing like holding a book in your hand. So you will be able to hold this journal in your hand, take a pen and paper, take your pen out or pencil and write in the book. And I was thinking, I was like, oh wow, the other books, the other book that I'm writing, I think I'm gonna make it a semi-journal too. There's just something about writing in the book, right? And it'll be
such a teacher. You're such a teacher. You want people to annotate in the book.
That's right. I still do that. Can you see? Can you tell? That's right. That's right. So I'm just so excited to share that with you. Thank you. Thank you. Nicole says, I can't wait for the paperback. Nicole, me too. I may just have to do this 40-day challenge. So I'm challenging all of you. I will have a course coming out in January, mid-January as well, where we'll go on this journey together, right? Let's do the 40 days together. Do it with a group of your friends. Like, it's what a great way to start the new year, to say, you know what, 40 days, I'm going to commit it to myself. I'm going to commit it to connecting with nature, to connecting with the divine. If you believe in God, to connecting with God. Really dedicate the first 40 days of 2021 to something greater than yourself also, because that's also discussed in the book. So grab a couple of friends and say, hey, go on this 40-day journey with me.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Okay. Well, this has been Joanne Ligonde, Joyous Leader. I want to thank you again for joining the show. I really appreciate it. And maybe we'll have you back on in 40 days. How about that?
Why not, right? 40 days. Well, thank you so much. Thank you, Devin. You are so amazing. I love the work that you do. Please keep going. Even after COVID, we need to hear from the Morning Huddle. So this continues, right?
Absolutely.
That's right. This continues. And you have the most amazing, lovely audience. I love being on your platform. Miss DR, thank you so much. And everyone else who has joined, you are absolutely amazing. And remember, during this time, this is your time. Like Devin says, this is the perfect time for reflection. As we really look to end 2020, let's ask ourselves this question. What is the insight? What is the lesson? What is the learning for me? Right? What can I take into 2021? So it's really been a joy. I always have fun coming on the show, Devin, so I really appreciate you.
Thank you. Likewise. Take care of yourself.
All right. Take care, everybody. Take care.